This is Valley News Live at 6.
A shortage of home health care nurses in North Dakota has left one family in limbo, as having an home provider is the only way their now 7-month-old son can come home for the first time.
Valley News Team's Bailey Hurley spoke with a family today who says they're just waiting on a miracle.
There's no nurses anywhere.
Anakin Hartman was born at just 22 weeks.
He had a lot of complications and he's overcame a lot of them.
But despite his triumphs, the 236-day-old baby has never spent a day outside the hospital walls.
That's the hardest part, yeah. It's just like, yeah, you're missing out on all this time. You don't get the normal experience that a typical parent gets. You miss out on things like his first smile. And
we don't really feel like the parents at this point. We just feel like visitors.
Until recently, the Hartmans would travel 180 miles round trip at least 3 times a week to visit their son at Sanford Hospital.
We've put a lot of miles on since over the last few months.
And with no luck securing a home health nurse at their farmstead in Litchfield, North Dakota, the Hartmans recently made the move to Fargo for better odds.
And he still may not be home for another month.
The Hartmans say in order to leave, Anakin would need to have a nurse at their home for 18 hours a day until he no longer needs his feeding and breathing tubes. They say while their son is now at the top of the wait list, there's still no telling when he'll finally get to be in his parents' arms for good. In Fargo, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
In a statement to Valley News Live, Sanford Health says the nursing shortage is not just special to North Dakota, saying families who have children with complex medical needs are significantly more impacted as the care requires more training, around-the-clock shifts in someone's home, and the need for backup staff. Sanford says it is actively recruiting for more pediatric home care nurses and says they are offering incentive bonuses to attract qualified applicants.
Our first alert storm team continues to follow a band of snow moving into the viewing area. As far as amounts, let's get the latest on how much, where, and when from Hutch.
Mike, thanks so much. As you saw outdoors in Fargo, we have some of the low clouds and fog around again, causing freezing fog and some, frozen precipitation here in the Southern Valley and points east. Tonight, a mix of precipitation here with snow moving in from the west. Looks like that wind and snow will combine at the same time as this system makes its way through. Not a lot of snow, 1 to 2 inches for many, a few even less than that in the south. And we'll see isolated areas with 3 inches possible with blustery conditions on the way from the north. Here's a look at the latest radar. Snow in the central North Dakota area right now moving eastward while we have some mixed precipitation moving northward through parts of Minnesota. We are going to see the brunt of this get here into the Red River Valley fairly late tonight. Devil's Lake will be the first to see the snow, and it's coming with some increased winds as well. At times visibilities have dropped under a mile along that leading edge of heavier snow out to the west. Wind speeds there picking up and gusts have hit 40 miles per hour now in Minot as winds will shift and become northwesterly as the system works its way through. Mike mentioned snow amounts. Here you go. We're not going to make you wait. A trace to an inch south, 1 to 3 inches for many. From Fargo and points north, areas of ice underneath that snow is a possibility. Now, this is all going to be followed up by some brutal air and deadly wind chills. And just to make sure that you have what you need to keep you and your family safe, our storm team's Summer Schnellbach has a little bit more on what you can do to prepare yourself should you be stranded. Summer?
Thanks, Hutch. Yeah, getting stranded in the winter, we never think it's going to happen to us until something like that does. And if or when that happens, there's a few things you need to be prepared. And putting together a winter survival kit to toss in the backseat of your car can be pretty simple. Some basics you'll want to include to keep yourself warm include an everyday pair of hat and gloves. I always keep these in my car. I even keep my gloves in my work bag, so it's always with me at all times. Another thing to stay warm, a candle, something you might not think of. Put it in a little tin container along with some waterproof matches. You can light that to make yourself a miniature heater for your car. Another thing you can pick up are these hand and feet warmers. You can get them fairly cheap at a grocery store or a local convenience store. Also, some blankets are something you can easily store in the back of your car, one for each member of your family if you're all traveling together. Now, if you find yourself stuck in the snow or in the ditch, you might want some things to dig yourself out. One thing, a shovel. You might not have a full-size shovel to keep in the back of your car. You can find ones that you can fold up and easily slide under the seat of your car or just easily store in the back. Some cat litter can actually provide some great traction if you're having trouble getting going. Just sprinkle it on the back of your tires and in front, and you should be good to go with enough traction. Another thing to carry around, not just in the winter but at all times, are some tow ropes and some jumper cables in case you do still have power in your car. Some other necessities to keep with you in your winter survival kit: a first aid kit for that basic first aid care, some non-perishable snacks and some water, snacks that have high calorie intake so you stay sustained a little bit longer. And one more thing to add to that winter survival kit: a flashlight and extra batteries, because it's dark more often than not around these parts. For Valley News Live, Storm Team meteorologist Summer Schnellbach.
All right, thanks so much, Summer. New at 6 tonight, a man called 911 at mid-afternoon this afternoon saying he was going to blow up the Dilworth Police Department. Investigators say that the call came from a disposable phone. They tracked it to the 3200 block of Center Avenue in Moorhead before the phone was turned off. Now, that same phone had made a bunch of calls to 911 last night and simply hung up. At this point, they don't believe it was a credible threat, and there's not much more they can do until they find the man who could be facing a charge of making terroristic threats.
The Devils Lake man who was reported missing earlier this week is dead. 76-year-old Thomas Townsend and his vehicle were found this morning in the Starkweather area. The Ramsey County Sheriff's Office is investigating, and officials say there doesn't appear to be any danger to the public.
Moorhead police are still looking for a snowmobile. We told you yesterday that a trailer and 2 snowmobiles were taken over the weekend from a parking lot in the area of 8th Street and 30th Avenue South. The trailer and the black and green snowmobile have been found. If you see the other snowmobile, call police.
More catalytic converters are being stolen in the Fargo area. We showed you this video yesterday of one being taken from Solo Drywall. And now police say there have been 97 reports of catalytic converters being stolen since August 1st, 31 of which were reported just last month. Police also say the cases appear to be happening in business parking lots where there are a lot of vehicles. If you notice anything suspicious or hear anything, call police.
Patrolling is part of the job in law enforcement, but a proposal being considered in Bismarck would force an officer to get approval before checking out something suspicious. House Bill 1340 calls for authorities to be invited onto property, even if they spot what they feel could be a crime being committed.
Again, in this instance, we'd have to call you at 2 or 3 in the morning and say, hey, Mike, if hopefully we could get a hold of you, but if we couldn't, we would have to just continue on our way because those individuals don't necessarily constitute an exigent circumstance because we're not exactly sure what they're doing.
Narcotics investigations and routine checks on sex offenders. Sheriff Johnner says he and others in law enforcement have testified against the bill.
Later on Valley News Live at 6, how close North Dakota is to allowing the 10 Commandments to be posted in public schools.
And we have low clouds and haze here in the FM area right now. Slippery conditions and a blast from winter. Coming up, I'll have details on what you can expect, the timing, and we'll talk about that cold Arctic air mass on the way as well for the weekend next.